I was born October 23rd, 1969, in the paradise of La Jolla, California, and the world is open to me. I decided at a young age to be an art maker, a musician, and world traveler. There's time for a Hollywood rock and roll dream, UCLA fine art degree, surfing, international travel, murals, exhibitions, instrument making, hundreds of paintings, and mountain climbing and chasing big waves to push the limits. I'm Christopher Sean Oleata, and this is my life. It's Thursday, September 20th, 2012, and I'm in the lab mixing solution all morning until 11:55 when Marisa sends me on the way, saying bye as I pass her in the parking lot. Then it's 4.5 hot hours across Southern California and the Mojave Desert to reach Lone Pine and the Owens Valley along the eastern Sierra Nevada. I call Marisa as I pass through town on my way 10 miles past town to the Manzanar World War II Japanese internment camp. In through the parking lot, by the visitor's center, then following another car on the tour road through the site. I try to follow my complex directions to find the correct road out the back. Once I fail, finding my way all the way around the tour road. Then I double back and think I find the right road, but it has road closed signs. I triple back, returning to the north road, passing the cemetery, then left out the north border. Now I know it's not the correct road, but there are several and they all connect near the mountain slope, so I go for it. It will be dark soon, and as I drive slow up this dirt road, the mind races with many ideas. The first and most important is don't get stuck in the sand or break something on a big rock like the oil pan, a tire, or something else. My truck is not a 4x4, so I can get stuck in sand easy. Not to mention, I study the road carefully, and at some point I'll have to make a quick and careful U-turn somehow. I play the options in my mind about possible hikes. I could easily turn around tonight and go to Tuttle or drive out there early in the morning after camping here if I'm not sure where I am or how to find the trail. I have 5 liters of water to make it through the night and the hike to the trail if that's what I do. As I think, I find my mind wandering and not looking at the road carefully, so I stop thinking and just drive, watching the road. The good dirt road goes almost 5 miles to almost reach the mountain slope at about 5,600 feet, and at a crucial point I make the U-turn, getting stuck at first, but some careful back and forth, and I don't dig a hole, and am free back on the road, facing safely downhill. A few yards down, I find a safe place just off the track, where the sand is not too deep. It takes me 2 tries to get far enough off the track so other cars can pass. I get out quickly in the waning light to look at map and compass to try and figure out where I am and how to get to the trailhead. I feel confident of where I am, but will always have to be on the approach, hiking far, over 4 miles just to reach the entrance to George Creek and the so-called most difficult bushwhack of the Sierra. My phone rings as I film, so I know I have a signal, and it's Carter up north, but I don't answer. The journey is the goal, and the goal is a Recon, so home as this is, and in the fading pink and purple light of the magnificent Sierra sunset, I unload the gear, setting up on the tailgate of the truck and laying the bed across the track on the open sand. The view from the valley floor is spectacular, with long pink clouds stretching and the quarter moon glowing in the darkening blue sky. Animals begin to come out, and a group of quail nearby are scattered, as well as little rabbits hopping around. It's 7:30 and nearly dark as the cycads begin humming for the night and the bats swoop around. I call Marisa, and as we talk, a pair of owls pass low right overhead, looping in figure eights, swooping back to look directly at me before continuing out hunting across the desert. I'll never forget this rare experience as they swoop and we meet face to face for a moment. So here's the plan. Park and camp here. Then early Friday morning begin hiking the dirt road that turns south along the mountain slope and connects to George Creek after a few miles. So I eat slow and enjoy the spectacular stars. I use the extra lights kept in the car to save mine for the trip. I can see the lights of the 395 far down in the valley, and no lights of any kind out here in the open dirt back roads leading to the mountains, which makes me feel safe. I'll sleep warm in my heavy bag, too warm really, but the stars are really bright and I see several big meteors. Friday the 21st, my 4 a.m. alarm does not wake me because I have it on my wrist and the heavy bag blocks the sound, but I'm up at 5:30 to quickly pack and start the road at 5:55, hiking as fast as possible under the weight of the lightest pack ever at about 35 pounds.
Good morning. It's Saturday morning and I'm on the dirt road to the trailhead of George Creek. The road is really rough, so I had to park my car as far as I could go so I wouldn't get stuck.
In the darkness and subtle pink glow of dawn, I soon pass some really rough road, and I see I made the right decision to stop where I did, even though most of the road after that is just fine. The track goes up a long hill, passes a flowing stream at Bears Creek North Fork, then makes a long descent and ascent over another hill, passing the second stream of Bears Creek South Fork. I can see that I am on the right road to George Creek, but it seems far off, not 2 or 4 miles like I thought, maybe 5 or more.
It's been an hour. I still got a long way to go. I gotta make it right around that ridge in front of me. Well, it's taking me an hour and a half to go on that dirt road along the slope. I passed 2 streams, but the way was twice as far as I thought, and I had to cross a whole nother slope, this one. And you'll see just ahead the entrance to George Creek and the forest below. Just a little bit more to go before I enter the bushwhack.
At 7:30, I reach the fork, joining the George Creek Road, with the creek not far off, twisting up towards the tangled entrance of cliffs and forest. I call Marisa from what looks like the parking area with smashed bushes and room for cars to park just as she wakes for coffee, turning on the computer, finding my e-card. I begin the last rough half-mile to the trailhead, nearing the forested creek, passing the last few 4x4 parking spots after 2 hours.
It's 8:10. I just reached the last parking spots on the rough 4x4 road, and here the trail enters the forest, right along George Creek. The trail begins in the thick forest, but so far no bushwhacking. It's been pretty easy to find my way, and I'm glad for the shade because it's hot out there. So eventually I'm gonna have to cross this creek 3 or 4 times. But so far so good. You can see the trail kind of sneaks along the right. It's 8:30 and so far the trail has been pretty clear, nice and sandy along the edge. Have to go under big trees and crouch down, but it's clear. It's 8:50. The trail just went through some nasty parts. I had to cross the stream twice, but not too bad. Now I'm back on the nice path above in the deep sand. Here we are at stream crossing number 3. Back up through the thicket. It's 9:05. I've been on a nice trail following the left side of the creek. It's been a little rough, but the trail is pretty clear. You can see the trail goes up there through all those dead trees and is following the edge of this cliff. It's 9:10. I'm definitely nearing the end of the forest. So I'm right here at the waterfall, and there's this big cave. Nice place to hide in the snow or the rain. And then right outside, it looks like I gotta go across here. After stream crossing number 4 below the waterfall, I came up into kind of a nice meadow. The trail is easy. It's 9:25. I just came out of the thicket of the gorge and I'm entering the open of the main gorge. You can see the sunlight. The trail should get a lot easier going up this talus along the side. And then you can see way at the top the big peaks in the back. I'm gonna have breakfast.
I begin again in the upper narrow canyon bottom, thick with forest and cliffs rising up. There are big tree snags ripped in half and large trees thrown around all over like sticks. With these steep cliffs, it looks like avalanches rip through here often in winter and spring. The path hugs the left side along the base of the cliff that is easy to find, though super rough to follow, with lots of bushwhacking and climbing over giant logs that are piled all over. Some I have to walk across as bridges, finding myself 10 feet high on these exposed bridges. A simple fall here would be a disaster. The trail may be invisible, but I trust the left wall and find that it's there, hidden behind brush like a tunnel, as I continue squeezing along the granite wall, pushing trees and plants aside, or crawling on my hands and knees, battling to keep my pack from getting caught on trees and plants. I wear padded construction gloves, so this goes well.
It's 10:20, and these last 20 minutes have been pretty brutal. Not steep, and the trail is really clear, but rough in the bushes. And I just keep inching my way up along these left cliffs up there. I've been getting trapped, having to cross on these big logs, going through this hell down there. It's 10:40, and that last part was really difficult. I just popped out of the forest onto some talus. It's a lot easier, but I think I got a long way to go before I fork left up a canyon. I think it's way up there past that shadow. It's 11:05. I've come a long way up. Stopped to take a break, and I can see the valley, so I'm sure I have a cell signal, so I'm gonna call home. It's 12:10. I'm just taking a break and checking my map. I gotta keep going up and around that forest to get to the next canyon and turn left. It's 12:30 and I'm resting. It's been really difficult climbing up these steep hillsides, trying to stay out of the brush down by the creek. But I'm going the right way. I just gotta climb these hillsides.
I must be passing 8,000 feet as the foxtail pines begin in their usual ancient and thick twisted fashion.
Well, it's 1 o'clock. I've been working real hard. It looks like just around the corner I'm gonna go left. It's 1:35. I just made the turn up the side canyon. It's steep, blocky, but on the rocks you don't slide as much. So I'm going up there.
The top of the canyon is capped by Mount Barnard, Trojan Peak, in huge granite cliffs. It's not far to go to reach the left turn into the side canyon, but the going is slow. I reach the fork at 8,800 feet as the path I'm on drops down to the stream at the crossing for those heading straight towards the other peaks and lakes like Helen of Troy and the famous 14er Mount Williamson. I avoid the crossing and turn hard left and sleepily up through the tangle of brush and foxtails, finding ribs and ledges of angled stone to rise up and avoid the sliding sand or blocking brush. I can feel the altitude gain and many hours of hiking as I slow considerably. But though I pause often, it's only long enough to take a photo and a few breaths before I continue stepping on, climbing talus and gravel, big slabs and over logs, working up the canyon. There is an amazing gash down the center of the canyon where the solid granite is split right down the middle, forming a sort of gully with 50-foot sheer walls about 100 feet wide, with the tumbling stream and giant boulders down below. My photos of the route show the hikers easily climbing up the bottom center of this gully with 20 feet of snow below, and I envy them. With no snow, it would be impossible to go through there, and I'm up high above on the mountain slope, looking off the cliff on occasion down into this pit of cascades and boulders. Though it's much more difficult to climb these canyons without snow, I think it's important to see and know the canyon without snow the first time, to know all the cliffs and obstacles before they're buried. Besides, the next time I do this with snow, it will be so much easier.
It's 2:30 and I'm totally exhausted. I know I don't have far to go, maybe an hour and a half. But I gotta rest, I gotta eat. so I don't get sick. There's the stream right down below me in those cliffs. It's 3:30 and I think that's Mount Carl Heller in the back. That means I just gotta go over this saddle and I'm coming to the lake.
I soon see the summit of Carl Heller pop out above the cliffs of the next cirque, and I know I'm close, but it actually looks really far and steep and over 1,000 feet higher. I pass the last trees on this side, nearing a great cirque with a giant slope of steep talus on the left that I have to climb to reach the upper lake, and a carving wall of solid granite sweeping down from the right, covered in a foxtail forest, to a brushy meadow at 10,500 feet. I skip the meadow and continue high in the talus to begin the really steep climb towards the waterfalls that pour from above. I'm weary and feel the altitude strong as I step one after another really slow. I struggle up the rough, steep talus that moves underfoot, and am thankful to reach the waterfalls near the top to rest. Then I push on a few more 100 feet, arriving to the relief of smooth granite slabs and the grass of the stream, finally reaching the banks of the lake at 11,200 feet.
So it's 5 o'clock after 11 hours, and I finally arrived to the upper cirque. And there she is, Mount Carl Heller. I didn't know if I would make it, I was so tired. I just was walking slow.
Mount Carl Heller is on the far side of the lake, bisecting two cirques with huge sheer towers on the left and the easy sloping Vacation Pass on the right. I make camp on the soft grass along the edge of the big deep lake, dropping my gear at 5 o'clock, after 11 hours and a 5,600-foot ascent of sure rough bushwhacking and boulder madness. I unload the gear, remove shoes and clothes, then bathe and wash my shirt in the icy water, going into up to my waist for just a moment. The sun is soon to set behind the pass as I dress clean and warm, now pumping water and making a recovery. I look across the lake at the incredible east ridge of Carl Heller, and my first intuition is that there is no way for me to climb it, and the mind plays ideas of a simple fall from the exposed ridge and a clean fall hundreds and hundreds of feet down. I am glad to be here and play through all the other explorations options like Vacation Pass and many other fine peaks to climb. I hear serious rockfall 2 or 3 times, far back in the left cirque below the huge towers. The sounds are powerful and last almost a minute, but I can't see anything falling or dust rising from the chaos. I have a meal of crackers, sardines, and parmesan during sunset. I dress warmer and go for a walk to the terminal slab and cliff with a view to get a cell signal. Sure enough, I can see the valley floor and I get a call through to Marisa, which is wonderful. She smartly suggests that because the hike up was so hard and the descents are always more strenuous, that I should hike out halfway or more on Saturday, so my Sunday exit will not be too overwhelming. I return to camp for dinner, round two of wheat crackers, parmesan, and salmon. It's 7:50 and very dark, with a one-quarter moon in the mists of deep blue sky above the crest after the pink clouds fade away. It's cold, possibly below freezing, with a solid wind blowing small waves into my little cove. As I go off to sleep, the intense stars and occasional meteors are spectacular, but the sounds of the lake and wind make me often sounding like footsteps or people talking nearby. Once I get used to it, it becomes a gentle white noise. When I wake, as I often do, I see some huge meteors, one with two tails. I am glad I have my thick winter bag since it's bigger, more comfortable, and extremely warm, but when I have to get up at 4 for an emergency head call, it's very cold. Saturday the 22nd, I wake at 6, really sore and tired, taking to my heart Maurice's suggestion. I think a hike through the nearly 13,000-foot pass down to Wallace Lake and back up Carl Heller's west slope would be way too much, so I begin at 6:20 to complete my Recon Carl Heller to reach the start of the climb for the East Ridge. I begin around the rocks on the edge of the lake, reaching the far side where sand forms a beach from the streams and waterfalls that pour in from cliffs and crags above from the higher cirque leading to Tornabora Peak and the Tilano Tower. I pump another quart of water to have 3 full quarts in case I begin a long hike. I feel weak and sore, and the altitude of 11,200 feet. I pass the waterfalls and enter a steep gully where the slabs and cliffs are split apart, creating a nice ramp between to reach the steep, smooth slabs above. After 40 minutes, I reach the 50-foot Class 4 toe of the climb at 11,900 feet, looking directly up the spectacular East Ridge. It looks very scary, and I'm amazed remembering the many photos I saw of people easily moving up this extreme free climb. I try 3 times up 3 different cracks, stopping halfway in fear as the exposure is over 30 feet, then dropping down steep talus 100 or more. I'm weak and the hold's not solid for me. To me, it feels 5-0 to 5-4. There are 2 hand and 2 foot holds for every move. The holds become progressively smaller as the number increases, 5-5 to 5-6. The 2 hand and 2 foot holds are there, obvious to the experienced, but not necessarily so to the beginner. And according to Secor, the toe is class 4, and he adds, class 4, you fall and you are almost dead. You can't breathe and move your arms, legs, and head. I certainly agree and try one more time looking up the first crack. I can see that the holds are there, but a fall would certainly be near fatal, so at 7:30 I give up on my recon and it is complete. Next time I'll do this pass and climb the Class 3 West Slope.
It's 7:15 on Saturday morning. There's Vacation Pass. And there's the start of the East Ridge. And there's Carl Heller, the Tilano Tower, huge wall. And then the Cirque. I heard a lot of avalanches in there yesterday, rocks tumbling off those cliffs. Well, it's 8 o'clock. I'm on my way back to camp. And I had to give up. I couldn't even make it up the toe, the start of the climb. It's too scary. So, because the hike out is so difficult, I'm gonna rest for a few hours. And then I'm gonna pack and go down about halfway.
I begin the enjoyable climb back down off the slabs as orange sunlight strikes the peaks and crests before I drop into the gully to scramble back to the beach below the waterfalls on the east edge of the lake. It's 8 o'clock when I reach camp, eating a little, then walking over to the terminal slab to call Marisa. I tell her the news and plan, then return to pack and relax, enjoying this wonderful location. At 9:45, it's time to leave this cold and windy lake and spectacular surf, slowly walking out on slabs, along grass and the tumbling stream.
Well, it's 10 o'clock. I'm packed up and I'm hiking out of the cirque and heading down. Probably go about halfway through the hardest part. So here's our last look as we follow the stream down. And it looks like we're gonna go right over the edge into the hell of rocks.
Few last looks, then I'm over the edge of the bench into the really steep talus along the waterfalls. It's very difficult, and in an hour I reach the meadow and the forested surf below at 10:50. There's time to relax, change clothes, bathe in the stream, drink and pump water. In the end, I chug an energy drink to prepare for the long descent traverse to reach a place to camp far below along the stream somewhere I'm not sure. My plan is to stay high, near the top of the trees, to find the pine needles and gravel to avoid the boulders and talus or brush and logs. At 11:30 I begin the slow down climb, and the plan works well, zigzagging below the big foxtails, finding not so rough a path, though it really steep to reach the turn below the final cliff at 12:55 to enter the main canyon. Now in the main canyon, as I rest, there are views clear up to the high peaks and clear down to the valley bottom, over the long, twisting tangle of brush and cliffs in the canyon bottom. At 1:15 I begin again with the same plan, staying really high, finding a good worn path, difficult and slow, but it works well. I stop 3 times to try and call Marisa, but can't get through. Only once do I hear her voice for 1 second before it cuts out. The final descent is in deep sand hell, sliding to reach the talus slopes along the edges of the thicket and stream. I search for a camp spot with room for a sleeping bag and available water nearby, and it's not easy as the whole area is either boulders or thick brush, blocking all access to the stream. As I near the end of this talus traverse, where the trail dives into the brush along the granite wall, I find a place to camp of soft pine needles right next to the open stream. It's 3 o'clock after 5 hours. The spot is perfect, down in the shade with the comfort of flowing water just a few yards away. I have to clean the area a little and drag a few small stones to use as a seat for my kitchen. I tried to call Marisa, but no signal. So this is home, and it turns out to be a great spot. Now I eat and relax, enjoying the sounds of the Cascades. At 5 o'clock, I walk down the faint trail through the talus a few hundred yards to where the trail goes into the brush to try and get a cell signal. We have a great talk, and now I can relax because when she knows there may be a signal, if I don't call, she may get scared and worried, so I need to do my best to make a call. I sit and relax, looking at photos and film on the camera or up at the spectacular view. I walk back slow, having fun making cairns, stacking rocks as I go. At 6, back at camp, relaxing, it begins to get cool and partly cloudy, but no wind. It's soon to be dark, with the purple shadow moving east across the white mountains. It's 7 o'clock, after a fiery pink sunset reflecting on the clouds and a blue glowing sky as it gets dark. At 8, I'm in the bag to sleep, but it is hard at first with all the sounds of the Cascades. It sounds so much like soft voices. I sleep well, 8 to 10, 10 to 2:15, waking at 5 to the alarm. I quickly pack in the dark and begin the path through the talus at 5:30, following the cairns in my headlight. I smash through the thicket, getting trapped twice, climbing out of the thicket, beginning again, following the right wall through the blackness. As I cross one of several huge fallen tree logs as a bridge, I see 2 lights that I think is a headlight of a hiker climbing up from below. I pause, see it again, and realize it's the eyes of a small animal just a few yards away on the log. It startles me, of course, but it's interesting, and I scan my headlight around the thicket and onto the rising cliffs above, seeing the eyes of at least 2 more. They may be martens or fishers, some sort of small animal. I continue reaching the exit and onto the talus at 6:15 as the glow of dawn begins, but I'm still moving by headlight, down deep in the darkness of the brush and forest. After a high traverse through talus, I reached the final thicket to enter twisting and bushwhacking, getting trapped a few times after missing the stream crossing below the waterfall, before finally reaching the sunshine and open valley of the trailhead at 7:15. I call Marisa in the glowing orange dawn, then begin the long, hot death march to the car. I find my way easy, looking for my own footprints at the two forks. The first hill is over a mile, and I hike swift and hard, breathing and sweating like mad, crossing the Bears Creek South Fork, stopping to drink and fill 2 quarts of water for a bath at the car, before descending and doing another hill even steeper. I push on, finally passing the North Fork, crossing, and minutes later see a mile off what I think may be my truck. I pray and wonder if the car is okay, robbed, with wheels gone, or something worse. I'll know soon. I filmed the last few steps as I arrived at the perfect truck at 9:05 after 3.5 hours.
I think I could cry, but I've been hiking for so long. Almost 2 hours on this road. And there she is. I found my way on these dirt roads with lots of intersections, and it's hard. But there she is. She looks like she's okay, hasn't been robbed. All the tires are there. Oh, home sweet home. And then look at this.
Of course, I'm exhausted as I unload on the tailgate and begin getting gear and clean clothes out of the truck. I bathe in the 2 quarts of water, standing on the tailgate, which is essential and wonderful before the long drive home. At 10, I begin slowly down the dirt road, staying the first gear the whole way, stopping on occasion to take photos or film. As I reach the back of Manzanar, I reach a 4-way fork and take two that dead end, and returning twice before arriving at the North Road on the outside of Manzanar, arriving at the exit to the highway at 10:45. It isn't the exact road I came in on, as I was inside Manzanar, and for sure this is the correct one to take next time. I stop for photos, then begin the 395 South, home at 10:15, passing Lone Pine at 10:30, listening to NFL all the way home.
It took almost 40 minutes to drive all the way down, but I'm here. I'm right next to the freeway, and I'm out of here.
Served with the fresh watermelon, Bobby Woo. I know your mouth is watering back there. I got a cup of water over here. Pretty good, I guess. We've got some stale bread for you in the fridge as well. Thanks. Well, here we are.